Sworn on Station 121, respond Leishman Avenue. Male patient with a gunshot wound. 121's got it. Be 1200 block Leishman, officer down. Alright.
An officer was shot and killed in the line of duty in Pennsylvania. Now an intense manhunt is underway for the gunman. 25-year-old Officer Brian Shaw died last night. Officials say a traffic stop led to a foot chase. That's when shots were fired, hitting the rookie officer. It happened in New Kensington, that's just northeast of Pittsburgh. Officer Shaw later died at the hospital.
There's three groups of people in the world. There's the sheep, being the citizens, good people, and there's the wolves, that's being the bad guys or evil. And there's the sheepdogs, it's someone special who's blessed with the gift of aggression that's responsible for protecting the sheep from the wolves.
Good friend of mine was killed 6 years ago, Derek Katecki, and it took, wow, took me right back. I was working the day that Derek got killed, and it took me right back there. That hurt. I didn't know Brian as well, which is a shame. Like I said, I maybe said 8 to 10 words to him. He was the guy that ran over Chief Klein's car. I mean, that's what you would hope that he would have been remembered for, but he's not. But it took me back to Derek, and Derek hit me pretty hard.
It's been a tragedy that it's unimaginable at this point. I just swore him in a couple of months ago, and he just had an energy and an enthusiasm for this position that it was matchless.
Sometimes I wonder what it actually takes for someone to want to pursue a career in law enforcement. You know, we ask nowadays for police officers not only to be police officers, but we include in that job description for those police officers to, you know, not only catch the bad guys and, you know, stop the bank robberies and keep us safe and, you know, be there when we call and we hear a noise in the attic. We also expect them to be doctors when there's overdose patients. We expect them to be marriage counselors when they go on, you know, domestic calls. And of course now they're even worried about, you know, sitting down, taking a break to grab a bite to eat while they're on shift and you know, being accosted or, you know, even their lives being put in danger.
My name's Eric Douts. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Arnold. I'm 49 years old. I'm married with 3 children. I've been a police officer here in Arnold for 28 years. I currently hold the position of the chief of police. How I got to meet Officer Shaw was actually not in law enforcement. I didn't meet him at work at all, but working out at the gym at Club Fitness. He was, I think, started off on the, I want to say, midnight shift. So he'd come in to work out late evening. I was there, and he was just one of those. He was different than a lot of guys you meet, even at the gym. I mean, no one just comes up to you and starts talking to you, but he was very outgoing, and he said he came up, introduced himself, and told me how he knew me based through my nephew. He's the same age. He graduated from Borough with my nephew Devin, and just had a lot of questions about police work and stuff like it. Just a very, very nice young man. Shocked, very upset, saddened, and then angry, You know, it's a senseless crime. There's no reason for this individual even to probably fire on Officer Shaw, you know, so it's very senseless. When it first happened, I was actually coming home. My grandmother was in the hospital, so I had my oldest daughter. We pulled in front of my house up here, and we were coming across the Trenton Bridge. There was police and ambulance flying like over in our direction. I told my oldest, I said, something's going on, you know. So we come down Dre Street, and I pulled onto Woodmont Avenue, and there was an ambulance coming across my street. And I could see in the ambulance from the front window, they were working on somebody. They were working like CPR on somebody. And I jumped out of the car, and I told my daughter, be careful. She was getting out to go around the vehicle. And I said something had happened. Then my phone rang, and that's when it was my sergeant telling me that one of New Kent's officers was shot. And so I'm gonna start crying now. Sorry. I was immediately saddened and broke down as I just did.
A few moments after hearing that a police officer was shot in New Kensington was gut-wrenching. I remember specifically where I was, exactly what happened. I can't specifically remember the next few days after that, given so much was going on, so many conversations with our police officers and so forth. But it was gut-wrenching to hear that a police officer was shot. Upon hearing that, that moment, my phone started blowing up with text messages and calls. And me calling people to try to find out exactly who was involved in the shooting and what the condition of that officer was. Unfortunately, we did learn that Officer Shaw lost his life that night. But again, the first few moments of hearing that is something I'll never forget, and I remember exactly where I was when I heard that.
I think it's easier for people to shoot people now. I think people don't think twice about it. You didn't see the guns now. Everybody has a gun now. Everybody has a gun now. It's happening more often. You're getting used to it. I don't want to say accustomed, because you never want to become accustomed to it, but is it becoming easier to accept? Yeah, it's a shame. That's a shame.
But I got changed really fast. I wanted to get to work and get this guy.
Armed and dangerous. That is how police describe the man they are trying to find. The man who allegedly shot and killed a New Kensington police officer. That man's name is Ramel Salholt, and he has been on the run since Friday night.
This man, 29-year-old Ramel Holt, a seasoned criminal accused of shooting Officer Shaw in the chest following a traffic stop. He's on the run and considered armed and dangerous. Community members in New Kensington tell KDKA they are confident police will find him.
You wonder, what does this guy look like? What went through his mind? Why? Why not just run? Why not just, run and ditch the gun? Although they say Brian was pretty fast, so, ditch the gun.
And policemen are problem solvers. So when something happens, we use the term cowboy up. There's no script for something like this, but everybody comes together as one. You put personalities aside and you do what you have to do to get the job done. That's pretty much what happened. We had police officers from everywhere coming here to help.
They want Ramel Holt to turn himself in, but until that happens, law enforcement says they will continue to search for him until he's brought to justice. The alleged killer of Officer Shaw remains on the run. Tavon Harper on drug charges. Police say it was Harper driving the car that Officer Shaw stopped moments before he was allegedly murdered by Holt, who was a passenger in the vehicle. Police say, meanwhile, the manhunt for Holt is intensifying, with more resources being brought to bear. This, as Ramel Holt's uncle is appealing to the 29-year-old to end his run and face justice.
Turn yourself in so they can talk to you, see what happened. Because nobody knows for sure what happened. I don't know. But just turn yourself in.
One thing we've seen a lot of over the last couple of hours are police from various departments, not only in Westmoreland County, but one or two from Allegheny County showing up here at the New Kensington Police Department. They're here not necessarily to take part in the search for the suspect, but what they are doing, many of them are taking shifts for New Kensington officers who have been on the clock throughout the entire weekend trying to find their brother officer's alleged killer. Also, many of them taking shifts so those same New Kensington officers can prepare to bury Brian Shaw.
The search for a suspected killer is over. Ramel Holt, surrounded with nowhere left to run, surrendered to police officers in Pittsburgh early this morning.
We are very, very thankful that he was taken into custody and nobody else was injured.
Police found him hiding in Hazelwood.
Oh, Jesus, the cop killer's on my street. That's what was going through my mind.
An intense manhunt lasting more than 80 hours since the murder of New Kensington police officer Brian Shaw.
He was on the run, that's for sure, from the minute the shots were fired.
And today, as Holt was taken into custody, his wrists were bound by the handcuffs that belonged to Officer Shaw.
Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? You know, what for what?
It was the beginning for the healing process for everybody. You know, even though you didn't go to trial yet and that's not over, especially the family. I mean, they were just devastated. I can't imagine. And that was the key. I think for the community as a whole, the police, everybody could sort of take a step back and breathe a sigh of relief in case he's at least in jail.
Ramel Holt is in the Westmoreland County Prison tonight. His arrest this morning ended a days-long manhunt and brought relief to a community mourning the loss of a young officer killed on the job. Good evening, everyone. Officer Brian Shaw will be laid to rest tomorrow. The rookie police officer was fatally shot after trying to make a traffic stop Friday night.
While the search for Shaw's alleged killer is over, there is still a lot of healing to be done. Ralph Iannotti begins our coverage tonight. Ralph.
Yeah, thanks very much, Susan and Ken. Understandably, this tight-knit community is still very shaken after the events of late last week. Meanwhile, preparations are well underway for tomorrow's funeral for this well-liked and dedicated police officer.
I'd heard, a few instances where people not from this community happened to be driving through the community only days after this had happened and saying that they witnessed sitting at intersections, looking at the cars beside them and seeing, full-grown people crying in the car. And obviously this is what they were upset about. This is what they were touched by. So, seeing the community come together after this, again, it was something that hurt very deeply, but also seeing the support that everybody is providing to the community, to our law enforcement agencies, to the Shaw family, I think is obviously heartwarming and needed at this time.
County Radio, New Kensington, Officer Brian Shaw, badge 29.
New Kensington 01 to County Radio. Officer Brian Shaw, badge 29, is now off duty. May God bless him.
Westmoreland County Department of Public Safety announcing the final roll call for the Kensington Officer Brian Shaw, batch 29. End of watch November 17, 2017 at 20:07 hours. May Officer Shaw rest in peace and protect us from assault. Please observe a moment of silence.
Brian, your shift here on Earth is done. Heaven is calling. Your brothers here at the New Kensington Police Department will continue to fight the good fight, knowing that you are with us as our backup, as one of our guardians from above. Until we meet again, my friend.